On this edition of Motorcycle Experience, performing some parking lot magic. While on this season's Ultimate Ride, we catch a flight after 4 days in Gaspé. Then during our Winging It segment, we perform a pre-flight tire check. And during Shifting Gears, we look on as a new kind of motorcycle also takes flight. All this and more as Motovan presents Motorcycle Experience. Hello and welcome to Motorcycle Experience, the voice of motorcyclists everywhere. I'm Dave Hatch, and this week we'll kick off our show by sampling Honda Canada's Superbike Ready CBR 1000 RR SP. Behold, Honda Canada's answer to the question, how do you take a fantastic 1000cc super sports machine and crank it all the way up to 11? Well, the answer perhaps isn't quite as rare as a Honda RC30 or RC45, but the CBR 1000 RR SP certainly comes close. Basically, what you see before you here is the very latest generation CBR 1000 RR. However, under all that sweet orange Team Repsol bodywork, you get a hand-assembled, hand-balanced Pro Superbike Ready inline 4. Then mated to the stock frame with its sculpted aluminum gull-wing swing arm, you'll note the cream of the crop Öhlins suspension has been bolted into place. While up front, the inverted 43mm Öhlins fork sports a pair of top-drawer Brembo monoblock brakes up front. All the very latest kit, to be sure. But the question on everyone's mind when Honda Canada rolled this piece out recently at a press launch down in Savannah, Georgia was, how different is the SP from the standard RR? Well, as it turns out, dramatically different. But you don't have to take my word for it. Here's what veteran journalist Colin Fraser and reigning CSBK champion Jody Christie had to say after peeling off a few hot laps down at Roebling Road. So Colin, we're on a bit of a rain delay here at the Honda Canada press launch, and yesterday we were watching Jody just flog this motorcycle, and it was a blast. I thought it might be fun while we're on this delay to just talk about this motorcycle in terms of where it fits into the Honda family. I haven't seen something like this around since maybe the RC30, and I'm looking at it going, is it to be ridden on the street, is it to be ridden on the track, or is it to be parked in the living room? Where does this fit in?
Well, I think RC30 is a good comparison. It was an exotic, it was collectible, but they were certainly raced, and it was built to be raced. It had the tools that racers would most appreciate.
Yeah.
And you're right, Honda haven't done this kind of limited edition thing in a long time. CBR 1000 is a very proven bike, very successful, very popular, but they've upgraded the spec, and obviously that makes it more expensive and more exclusive, and it's also exclusive because the numbers are small.
Right.
So a la the RC30, and I think these numbers are even more restricted.
Yeah.
Down the road 20 years, that will make this bike valuable if you can keep it in one piece.
Right, exactly. Well, we've been told by the Honda reps, they're talking about bringing in the numbers that you can count on your hands. I see that this is a 6. When you walk up and look at the bike, what's the most special thing about this motorcycle for you?
The thing that you're going to talk about that you're going to notice is the front end. There's sort of two signature suspension companies in the world. There's Showa, owned by Honda,
Yep.
and there's Öhlins, which are Swedish based, and most Grand Prix bikes, a lot of World Superbikes run those, and these are your gold standard Öhlins forks, and they're completely rebuildable, track capable, so they're certainly a really good tool in terms of a starting point for somebody like Jody who's going to race the bike.
Right.
When you look down at the bottom of the fork legs, radial mounted Brembo calipers, absolutely the industry standard for race bikes. The wheels are slightly different, slightly lighter, unsprung weight, definitely an advantage on the racetrack. Things you don't see here, and of course the paint job is a Marquez replica, so that's neat, but the engine has a little more attention, particularly in the top end, balanced parts, blueprinted parts, and that allows the engine to be, for a bike that's so smooth running already, allows it to be a little more smooth and also a little bit more powerful.
Well, Jody's the reigning Superbike champion. He won last year on an RR. Will he be competing on one of these this year?
Right, it's a big deal that Honda have chosen to homologate. Just as with the RC30, they're bringing in enough that it will be approved for racing in Canada. There will be some components that he will utilize. I would imagine he's going to keep everything on the front. This comes with an Öhlins rear shock, another really high quality component. And of course, tuning the bike at the track, particularly at our tracks, which tend towards the bumpy and the more difficult, tracks that have suited the Honda, that this Honda has done extremely well at. So yeah, he has more bullets in the gun this year.
Right. So we know Jody's looking forward to riding it. My question is, who will buy this bike? Is it the track day guy, or is it the collector?
Well, I think it'll be 50-50. You'll get some collectors who understand this is a very limited number, that down the road that this will probably be valuable just like the RC30, so they'll ride it very little or not at all. They'll put it somewhere where they can enjoy it, and someday, hopefully, it's an investment. But you'll also get guys who maybe grew up with Japanese bikes. They like the exotics, but they'd like to stay with an inline four. So this is an unusual situation with a Ducati type Japanese motorcycle. So I think that's fun too. But there aren't a lot of them. You're never going to see them. It's going to be one of those things. If you're going to tell your friend, "Oh yeah, I was at such and such, and I saw an SP," right?
Right.
So, and I mean, it's the same with RC30s now, right? To even see one parked is a notable thing.
Right. So Jody, last season your weapon of choice was the Double R. This season you're hoping to do it on this bike. Was there a quick noticeable difference between the two bikes, or are they very similar? What have you noticed so far?
So far here at Roebling, I've noticed that the brakes are stronger, and it definitely has a lot faster acceleration on the straightaway. So those are two things just on street trim that I've noticed. I was riding very conservative, probably 60-70%. Just the setup isn't like a stock setup is tough to ride at full race pace, so we were just taking it slow and just having some fun and feeling the power and spinning some fun laps around here.
Hang in there, we've got plenty more experience still ahead. Next, touring expert Ken Edick doesn't wing it when it comes to his tire pressures. And after 4 days of riding some spectacular roads northeast of Quebec City, Norm Wells and I make the final run to catch a flight home. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Honda Canada. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now to talk touring and tires with a long-distance rider who logged over 200,000 kilometers on his last Goldwing alone. But before we do that, let's catch up with Norm Wells and this week's ultimate ride. Today, we're turning for home. So this season during our annual fall ride, we've been in the province of Quebec exploring the scenic Gaspé Peninsula. After 4 days in the saddle of a pair of K1600 GTs, we spent the final evening in the town of Gaspé proper. Then, on the final morning of our adventure, with only a couple of hours left before catching a flight back home, we squeezed out one last photo op at the famous Pierce Rock. It required a spirited early morning ride that will never be forgotten. But alas, no matter how hard we tried to stretch out the experience, our journey was coming to a close. Well, Norm, here we are midway through day 4 in this year's ultimate ride to Gaspé, and we're at the Gaspé Airport. Man, it's a tiny little airport. No tower, and our de-icing, not that we need it, but our de-icing vehicle is actually a pickup truck.
Exactly.
It's small.
And only one-way runway too, so that's gonna be interesting with all the wind when we leave here.
It's been extremely windy today. But you know, when we pull out the map and we look back to where we have been and how far we've come from flying into Quebec City 4 days ago, we've covered a lot of ground.
1,250 kilometers the way that we did the route.
Nice.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Quickly recapping, the first part of the ride was a little straightforward and pedestrian, out from Quebec City to Rimouski. We spent the night there, and then the journey really began for us the next day, riding down the 132 East to your sister's place in Matapedia.
Yes, had a nice little surprise lunch there and enjoyed that very much. And then after lunch we continued along to Baie des Chaleurs and made our way to the 299, which is at New Richmond, and up to Saint-Anne-des-Monts. And that was a really spectacular road for me. I really enjoyed that, the two roads, the valley for 70 kilometers and then the mountains for the next 70 kilometers.
Yeah, that was a fantastic ride, and we had a gorgeous day. That whole day was all about following rivers. Woke up at Saint-Anne-des-Monts, a nasty day. It was cold, it was raining, but the ride to Gaspé,
It did not disappoint. I mean, we were smiling the whole way. The scenery was spectacular.
Yeah, just the way the mountains came right down to the ocean and the road just snaked along. It's fantastic. And then every now and then the opportunity to go inland a little bit and get some roller coaster rides.
It was beautiful, and called it a short day yesterday. 4 o'clock we were in Gaspé. We checked into our hotel. This morning it was like icing on the cake. Percé Rock. We blasted out there this morning, and what a gorgeous scene.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And some nice roads too.
Beautiful roads, and as we said before, when you ride it the opposite way, you get a whole different perspective. So I enjoyed actually coming from Percé back to here, visually more than the ride out.
Well, I think if you're going to come out and do this ultimate ride, the toughest decision will be, should I keep the St. Lawrence on my left or my right? Which way should we circle this thing? Because the scenery changes both ways. But overall, you know, when you're thinking about an ultimate ride in Canada, I mentioned this earlier in one of the previous segments, you know, the Rockies, definitely. Cape Breton, Cabot Trail, definitely. And I've got to put Gaspé right up there. This has been spectacular, fun, great riding. Thanks for bringing us this one. This was awesome.
Well, you know, I have to say our ultimate ride in Gaspé was one of our best rides ever. And speaking of long distance riding and touring, this summer Honda Canada is celebrating the 40th anniversary of their Goldwing. And as a result, we're celebrating the art of touring with a little segment we call Winging It. This week, we're talking about your tires. Ken, this week on Winging It, you want to talk about tires, tire maintenance, tire pressure when we're in a long distance touring environment. So why are tires and checking tire pressures so important when you're out on the road?
Well, you only have 2 of them, and unfortunately, although they're a very expensive commodity, they don't last nearly as long as a car. But we ask them to do an awful lot. Perform, longevity, so you can't take them for granted.
Okay, so starting with the obvious, you've got a tire pressure gauge here. How often when you're out touring, let's say you're off for a 2 or 3 week ride, how often are you checking your tire pressures?
It's only because of my own doing, but I'm typically out there every morning before we're going to ride out, just to check to make sure nothing happened during the course of yesterday.
Right.
If there's a leak developing, I want to know about it before it exhibits the handling characteristics out there on the road.
Right. Now let's talk about that very quickly. If your tires are overinflated, you lose some of your handling, right?
For sure. It changes the profile of the motorcycle tire. Most motorcycle tires are round.
Right.
And if you inflate them too much, that round curvature has less contact patch. Contact patch is something we say, it's about the size of your hand.
Right.
So there's not a lot to work with.
Yeah.
If you inflate it super hard, it becomes a smaller contact patch, less to give you feedback of what you need for the road.
Right. Underinflated, if they start going a bit soft on you?
Very bad. I mean, it's way over the weight limit of what the tire is designed for if it hasn't got the suggested pressures.
Right.
It can start to wobble, do damage to the rim, do damage to your ride. It can be serious stuff.
And your expensive tires are going to wear out a lot faster.
Very, very fast, yes.
Right.
Heat and overweight on a tire are the biggest culprits.
Okay, so you know you're checking them every day when you're out on the road.
Yep.
It looks to me like you also take your own compressor so you can make things better if they become underinflated.
For sure. I mean, depending on where you are, that next gas station, that next town, may be a half hour or so away yet.
Right.
If you go as far off the beaten path as I do, I don't even know where the next town is.
Right.
So anything I can do to keep myself going, it might just need a top up. Somebody that has a bike that has put aftermarket air suspension may ask that they need to have it boosted because they're realizing they've overpacked.
Right.
So you can add on the go, and even if it means stopping every 15 minutes, that'll get you to that next town as opposed to a problem out in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, so this one will plug right into an accessory outlet, or in your case, you've modified it to plug into your own wiring.
This is a very similar and standard plug design that you'll see in a lot of automotive shops. It happens to be the design for my battery charger for the bike, so it works both ways. And if not, these also come with kits that have small alligator clips, so you can clip them right onto the battery post.
Okay, so you're ready to pump up your tires, pump up your suspension.
Pump it up.
And if you start to lose air, you get a leak.
This is the most rudimentary package there is. There are better ones on the market, just like anything else. The next size is about this size here, and it is probably the best there is on the market.
Right.
And you should practice with them. Sometime when you've got the old tires, put a hole in them and practice how to do it. They're not that expensive to replace, but make sure you're comfortable doing it in your backyard as opposed to out on the road where it'll really matter.
All right, so we've got a tire repair kit, and now we're set for the open road. Great stuff.
Still ahead, Harley goes electric, and the Ultimate Yamaha Challenge moves to the big city for a little squeeze play. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. I'm Dave Hatch, and it's time now for this week's installment in the Yamaha Ultimate Challenge. Today, Anthony Mann is back in the parking lot, and Matt Fletcher, he wants to pull the squeeze play. Recently, we've been working on improving the riding skills of Anthony Mann by putting him through a series of motorcycle riding skills exercises designed by Matt Fletcher at Yamaha Motor Canada. Matt had hoped this friendly little challenge would show us all how we can become better riders when we practice our sport. All you need is some open pavement like an empty parking lot and a couple of makeshift cones or pylons. Now, after completing several slow-speed challenges, Matt wants to demonstrate how all that practice pays off in the real world.
So Matt, it's time for another Yamaha Ultimate Challenge. And in the past couple of weeks, we've been putting all of the previous challenges together here at Yamaha Motor Canada in the parking lot.
Yep.
Okay, we've got some cones. We're in a parking spot. What's the premise here?
Yeah, again, the point is to practice real world situations with Anthony. So what we're doing here is kind of a flashback to the turn from a stop challenge that we did a few episodes ago.
Right.
So we've set up some cones to signify the lane change so Anthony doesn't cross into a dangerous path with other cars coming.
Right.
And what I'm asking him to do is to come out of the parking spot, immediately turn right.
Okay, so that really is a practical example of what we're doing from the turn from a start.
Yep.
This is great because we've got a van and a sport ute on both sides of us, so really he's limited in terms of his visibility. And if you weren't all that good at making that sharp right from a stop, you could potentially pull right into oncoming traffic.
Right, exactly.
Hence the cones.
Yep.
Okay, well this is great. Are you ready for this?
I am.
Okay, let's give it a whirl.
That's good.
Okay. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a great job.
So Anthony, that was great. Once again, you made it look easy. Was it relatable to that stop turn challenge that we gave you up at the airport a couple of weeks ago?
Absolutely. Another thing is when I was rolling up from that park position is I was on an incline. So as I started to roll, I'm feathering the clutch and accelerating, but I'm also on the rear brake as well. And once I'm rolling, my eyes are up, I'm looking, make sure I'm clear to my left before I enter out and lane of traffic, and then course clearing to make sure that where I'm traveling to, in the right turn, is clear as well.
Yeah.
So
now you can see if you weren't able to make a really sharp turn there, had a car been coming the other way, you could have literally turned right into oncoming traffic,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
At that speed, what do you think would have happened if you just grabbed the brake, the front brake?
The bike would have tipped.
Right.
I would have went down.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, now that we've got you all fired up, stay tuned because next we'll meet one of the engineers behind Harley-Davidson's Project Livewire. Stay with us. Portions of this broadcast are brought to you by Harley-Davidson, BMW Motorrad, and Honda Canada. Welcome back as Motovan presents The Experience. Now that we've got you all fired up and ready to ride, we'll quickly wrap up our show by looking at what Harley-Davidson is betting may be the future of our sport. Recently, I had a chance to check out their Livewire up close and personal with one of its engineers.
So this is great. What an opportunity to see this bike in person because I've been reading about it, seeing pictures in the press for well over a year. How did this project come to be?
Well, Livewire is an opportunity for us to showcase Harley-Davidson's innovation.
Right.
To show the world that we can keep up with times, and we do have a lot of technology that many times is overlooked on our current bikes. Even though our bikes have, for instance, the electrical structure of our bikes are state of the art, our ABS systems are you know, really, really top notch, a lot of people mistake the classic looks of a Harley Davidson with lack of innovation.
Right.
So we really wanted to showcase that, and what's better than an electric bike, right?
No kidding. It's such a beautiful motorcycle, I have to say. I really love this styling. It's so unique. It's future, but it's a little retro. I'm assuming the guts of it, the heart and the soul of it is, there's a large battery. Technically, there's just a big battery in there and an electric motor. Is that?
Exactly right. Most of the core of the motorcycle is a large battery, is a lithium-ion multi-cell battery. What you're seeing here is actually part of the outer case of the battery. So it was shaped and produced for this bike specifically. It's not an off-the-shelf unit. What you're seeing here is the motor. We did not want to cover the motor because it's a Harley Davidson, and when you look at any of our bikes, the motor is the jewel of the bike, right?
Right.
Same thing with the live wire. It's not because it's an electric bike that we're gonna hide it. It's still a Harley Davidson, right? So we wanted to showcase the motor, which is this beautiful unit here.
So of course the question motorcycle enthusiasts are gonna be asking is, you know, how fast will it go, and how far can I go? You know, so where is the bike in terms of that right now?
Acceleration is really good on this bike. From 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is around 3.8 seconds. It's not meant to be a racer. It's meant to be a really fun city bike, right? So passing power is very important, handling is very important. For instance, talking about passing power, from 100 to 130 kilometers an hour is less than 2 seconds. So you don't have to downshift because you don't have a shifter or clutch. And because it's an electric motor, there's no such thing as falling off the power band. You're always at the optimum, you know, power band at any time.
How far do you think you can get? What's the range right now?
This one, an average we're getting is about 100 kilometers. Of course, it will vary like any other vehicle. If you're hard on the throttle, you're gonna probably use that charge a little faster. We have an external charger, right? It's not an inboard unit. You just connect it to the outlet, connect it to the battery, 3 hours, it's fully charged.
Fantastic. So again, everybody's going to be asking, when can we get them? How much are they going to be? Like, is there a plan to put this into production?
I wish I could answer that to you, but there's no specific dates for launching this bike. There's no numbers in terms of retail price. We're still working on it. We're getting a lot of feedback and gathering as much feedback as we can. And they're working on it right now.
Okay. Well, that's it for this week's program, folks. We're all out of time. But if you're looking for more experience, be sure to drop by our website, motorcycleexperience.ca, and join our Riders Club. We've got some great events coming up this fall. So until next week, keep your feet on the pegs and your right hand crank. Bye for now.